The era of China as the factory of the world is over. Is it true? During the 2020 US election, there was a very interesting trending search on Twitter, #TrumpMadeInChina. Trump is busy with the election, and the campaign is very grand. His supporters also cheered wildly, with hats, flags, clothes, banners, and slogans all printed on their bodies. But in the crowd, we found that the label of Made in China has been seen frequently. It turned out that these supporting materials all came from the Yiwu market in China. This is not Trump's tricks, in fact, it is a businessman's self-consciousness. He knows very well that if these peripheral products are really produced in the United States, the efficiency and price is at a disadvantage, compared with Yiwu, China. Let the world know that the world's factory is still in China, and this man can be regarded as a major contributor. Let's go back 21 years to November 2001. The World Trade Organization voted to accept China as a full member. Since then, global trade has been tilted towards China. China has steadily become a major trading partner in Asia, Africa, Europe, and South America. China's manufacturing has turned the country into the world's factory, but in order to achieve this goal, China had to go through a painful process of economic experimentation. How did China do it? How did China evolve from a poor agricultural society to an industrial powerhouse? Hi, everyone! Welcome to Auto Age. Before we started today's video, please subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. Okay, let's get started. China's rapid rise is not an anomaly, but a return to the historical norm. In the Qing dynasty before 1800, the GDP of the Qing Empire accounted for almost one-third of the world's GDP. Domestically, China has a market economy as mature as Europe, and silk textiles and ceramics are exported to Europe in large quantities, resulting in an unbalanced trade surplus. However, China's huge population can only get to this point, and with the rise of the Industrial Revolution in the West, the surplus wealth created by the European empires hastening their colonial pursuits, which was a disaster for China. Beginning with the Opium War in 1839, China's economic development was suppressed by a series of foreign invasions. First, British steamers forced the opening of Chinese ports to the opium trade, then the Russians annexed parts of Manchuria, and by 1895 Japan occupied both the Liaodong Peninsula and Taiwan. At the same time, a series of violent rebellions and civil wars followed. China's early pioneers knew that industrialization was vital to survival, but without strong central governance, the country was too large to change its backward self-sufficiency, and the Qing dynasty's modernization plan failed. Even replacing the imperial-ruled Republic of China government also proved inept. The unstable situation continued until 1945, when the Japanese army was expelled from China, and by 1949, when PRC was established, nationwide reforms could finally be passed. There was some success at first, and industrial output was boosted, especially in the production of steel, coal, and petrochemicals. But while heavy industry has flourished, agricultural production has lagged, and an underperforming agricultural sector has put enormous pressure on China's food security in the context of post-war baby boomers and labor urbanization. Meanwhile, large-scale manufacturing was developing throughout the 1960s and 1970s in Japan and South Korea. How did Japan and South Korea recover quickly after the war? Well, they generally follow a three-step pattern. The first was land reform, by breaking down large estates into smaller plots, which facilitated market competition, which in turn drove food production, increased efficiency of the agricultural system, and also triggered a massive migration of farmers to cities in search of employment opportunities. urbanization was taking shape throughout the surrounding area during this period. The second step was to shift the economy to export-oriented manufacturing. By leveraging their new urban workforce and existing export infrastructure, East Asian countries began to dominate global manufacturing, especially in consumer electronics. By focusing on exports, Japan, South Korea can create the foreign exchange needed to speed up the technology transfer process. Third, each country has adopted restrictive financial policies to direct capital to the sectors favored by its development strategy, with low interest rates allowing cash flow back into investment in national infrastructure and business. And capital controls prevent the wealthy from moving money overseas. At the same time, the lower exchange rate makes East Asian exports more competitive. Naturally, these policies have been opposed by Western businesses, and Asian companies have open access to the U.S. market, while U.S. companies are locked out of Asia, making many business owners unhappy because a lot of intellectual property has been stolen. However, the United States at the time had no problem with this trade-off, as it needed strong allies capable of in Asia, which explains why Washington strayed from its free trade principles by allowing its allies to operate a business-list economy. However, China is also very good at learning from each other's strengths and starting to overhaul its economic system, and has adopted a similar three-step approach. China's secret weapon is its vast territory and population size. With China's opening to the outside world, China began to attach importance to the production and export of light industries, such as clothing, cosmetics and toys, and Made in China became an independent brand. At the same time, the establishment of new factories encouraged urbanization. China's urban population grew from 190 million in 1980 to 300 million a decade later, and over time some restrictions on private enterprise were relaxed. This has prompted some state-owned enterprises to become more competitive, and since the late 1870s, China has gradually become the world's factory. But China's biggest test is the acquisition of technology. The United States unconditionally allows Japan and South Korea to provide technology, but China has to provide some returns for American companies. China has come up with a method that allows export-oriented companies to set up factories in coastal special economic zones, and then upgrade regional export infrastructure with port roads and railways. It is this combination of first-world infrastructure and third-world labor costs that Western companies find irresistible. As a result, foreign direct investment increased from zero in 1979 to 40 billion in 1997 and reached a peak of 290 billion in 2013. Being the factory of the world has various benefits through which China can obtain the technology capital it needs. By closing the technology gap, China's size and natural advantages have come to dominate global trade. Between 1978 and 2019, real GDP, measured in current dollar values, grew from $150 billion to $14.3 trillion. In 2001, about two-thirds of the world's countries traded more with the US than with China, and by 2018 those numbers had reversed. That's an incredible increase. China's accession to the World Trade Organization in 2001 strengthened its leadership role in the global trade ecosystem, and being the factory of the world means that it is only a matter of time before China dominates international trade. Nowadays, China is not only the world's factory, but also the world's major trading partner. But in order to develop further, China still needs to cultivate its domestic market. For China, a mature and developed economy is the next goal. Made in China 2025, the Belt and Road Initiative, and the attempt to build China's Silicon Valley, all these measures are all about making it happen. Do you have confidence in China's economic development? What economic reform measures do you think China can take in the next decade? Okay, that's all for today. Please put your comments below and share your insightful ideas with other people. Do you want to learn about more auto stories? Please keep following our channel and like our videos. Thank you so much for your continuous support. Your precious time with us is highly appreciated. See you.